Well, good morning to the world, and good morning to all those that are tuning in on Facebook Live. So, the 23rd of the series in the New World lecture course is entitled A World Without Job. So, there may be those that are saying, well, that is a fearful proposition. Concerning one, since we in society have been brainwashed into believing that we have to the moment we are able to get out to society and work for a living until we retire and wait for our death basically. But that's not always been the case in humanity. As I said, jobs, employment is only a relatively modern concept. Before, basically, you could argue it started with the Industrial Revolution in the 17th century with the invention of steam power, where factory mass production was made and you were hired, paid for your service. Or some would argue it started maybe 6,000 years ago with the advent of civilization, where you had a figurehead, a leader, a king, an emperor, and everyone else was in the society had to work for the benefit of the collective. But before that, humans pretty much did what they had to do to survive, to look after their family. They were hunter-gatherers. To them, it wasn't a job. It wasn't a career. It was just a matter of survival. Obviously, I don't want to get to that point where we're just living to survive, although in some contexts, that's all we're doing, whether we're employed is putting food on our table, clothes on our back of our shirt. But as we advance to more higher levels, the balance has transferred from the primitive work of labor, which is, using our hands, using our muscle, to a modern age where, like today, I'm pretty much working by lecturing in front of a computer, using my brains, and some would argue using a lot of my mouth as well. So, and that's what I mean about a transformation in a philosophical way. Beginning, there were no jobs. You just did everything that you had, whether you're a cook, you're a carpenter, you're a bricklayer, you did everything you had to do for yourself, for your family, for your community. Then, as I said, whether you consider the first employment as the formation of civilization, where society was broken up into different areas and each one specialized in a career, whether a baker, a carpenter, or a pottery maker, whatever the role was, or in a more modern sense, the first employment were the start of the Industrial Revolution. We had mass production. But going into the future, in fact, it's already starting, as you know. A lot of people are concerned that AI, robotics, taking away a lot of the traditional manufacturing job. But maybe I'm very optimistic. I always see that half full glass. I don't see that as a hindrance. I see that as a liberation for people to enjoy the life. Because regrettably, I think most of us don't actually enjoy our work. We do it just to get paid. So, like I say, we can put food on our table, put clothes on our back of our shirt. I know obviously there's people out there that do actually enjoy their career, actually do enjoy what they're paid to do in life. So I'm not saying that's not the case. But imagine a utopia, a nirvana in the future where everyone could do what they enjoyed. Now, you could call it a career, a job, because they're still doing something for society. But imagine a modern world where it goes full circle, where everyone's doing it for themselves, for their family, for the community, for what they want to do. So when they wake up, one day they want to be a cook, next day they want to be a carpenter, next day they want to be an inventor. Or to me, in the distant future could be actually just around the corner in terms of, a few decades from now. I believe humanity, it has survived this darkness and absorbed the knowledge, the truth, and educate themselves to be wiser and smarter and more righteous and good. Then they can focus themselves on intellectual aspects of living, of how they could invent, develop, or be just a creative artist, because that's still invention. And to me, someone who creates a beautiful piece of art with music, artwork, also an inventor. You're inventing something that every time you create something unique, something beautiful, it is just a pleasure to behold. Whether you could eat that pleasure, we could see that pleasure, or you could listen to that pleasure, it's still a great creativity. And I think that is what humanity ultimately wants to do, is, create things for themselves, but for the society as well, that's enjoyable. So, that will be the ultimate nirvana, okay, the utopia of life. So in a future world where, we have our robots, our AI to do all the mundane job, calculating our taxes, if we still pay taxes at that time. There's no job, then there's no payment, there's no taxes. Wouldn't that be idyllic? No one needs to pay any taxes. But you have food, you have clothes, you have everything, like the futuristic Star Trek. You have a replicator that can pretty much reproduce anything that you so desire. And then you can focus on the leisure activity, which is your future career. It's using your brains. Think about how to explore the outer stars I'm always mentioning, because humanity will need to escape from this limited resources that are Earth and explore other planetary places, where it starts is the moon, then Mars, and then beyond our solar system. But even go beyond that, I believe the ultimate explorations within oneself, within the psyche, within spirituality. That is an area where humanity can basically, if they are free from the burden of having to lift logs, fix the plumbing, let the robot do that, let artificial intelligence do your bookkeeping, etc. We can be free to really, really do what is divinely pleasurable, and what is then the righteous path and the good path. Because ultimately, like I said, with technology, I genuinely believe we can build a mobile phone to God. Okay, so those are very, very challenging, very, very difficult, but difficult in a very enlightening manner. And I think that is ultimately the path for humanity. And that's what I meant by a world without jobs. So take good care of everyone, stay safe, and I'll see you tomorrow for the prayers for humanity.